This week we're reading Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto, otherwise known as All That in a Bag of Chips.
Hi readers, I'm Jordan.
And I'm Katie.
And welcome to Not Another Heroine, the book pod where we celebrate the heroines we love
and roast the ones we don't. We'll be your TBR FGMs.
Fairy godmothers.
And find you the best 5-star reads, the spiciest romance, and save you from the overhyped DNFs.
So grab your favorite drink and get cozy. Welcome to Season 3. Hey readers, we are real people.
And we have real fans that like us.
We are so excited to welcome both Taylor Tarkington.
The OG.
Very much so. And Steph Cherry.
Yeah.
To our book club.
They are our patrons, our shadow daddies. We love them. Thank you so much for giving us money to do something that is super silly. And I'm glad that you enjoy it.
Please let us know what you guys are reading so we can follow along too.
Absolutely. Here's the episode.
Here's the episode. I feel...
Feelings.
I feel like a disappointed dad.
I could see that. I feel old for the first time. I don't think I'm the intended audience for that book, and I feel like I have missed it by maybe a couple years.
So we're talking about Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a continuation, but it's like in the same universe as Forget Me Not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have very, as you can tell, we have mixed feelings about this because we talked about this book yesterday, and we both came to the conclusion that the writing style is good. Mm-hmm. It's engaging. Mm-hmm. We both finished it. Mm-hmm. Like, we didn't have to revert to the audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, I read it. It doesn't matter. Okay,
well. But this wasn't like a Songbird in the Heart of Stone incident.
No. Yeah.
But the characters, all of them are just supremely unlikable.
Yeah. Horribly so. And it's one of those books, it's like angsty. Like, it itches that kind of like angsty teenager drama, but it's like maybe not enjoyable. Like, I don't know the right word for it.
It's weird because they act so immature. Like, it reads kind of young.
Yeah.
But it's so explicit later on.
Yeah.
That I don't know where to put this book.
Mm-hmm. It feels like a One Direction fanfic. And I know it's like a Raylo fanfic, but it definitely gives me One Direction, you know.
Like you said, wish fulfillment kind of thing.
Yeah, like they pull you up on stage. So that's what I mean. I feel old for the first time of I'm not.
So I guess general premise is our heroine, her name is Gwen. She lives in New York in like a shitty apartment with her roommate. Mm-hmm. And she is like a violin prodigy.
Yeah.
Been playing since she was 11. She got a spot as like third chair in the Pops.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Like they play.
Is it like short for something?
I think it's what they call an orchestra that plays more popular trendy music. It's like orchestra for the common man.
Oh, okay. There it is.
Yeah.
I am the common man.
But like they make a few references to like the New York Philharmonic, like think big classical productions where you just sit for 2 hours and listen to your brain melt.
Ooh, I don't know that I'm into that.
Yeah. So this is, it's like contemporary music romance.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Musician romance?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know what category this falls into.
It's just strange.
Yeah. And it's interesting too because I read Forget Me. Did you end up reading Forget Me Not?
No, and I don't think I will after reading this one.
Yeah, because it has very similar, not like problems, because I think that's the wrong word. Similar trends, I would say, where the characters, like it's fun, I guess, and like engaging and you read the whole thing, but the characters aren't likable. Like that was my same beef with Forget Me Not is like, you're just like not enjoyable.
I wouldn't be friends with these people.
Yeah.
Well, especially Gwen. So Gwen is 22 years old, and she had this really tragic childhood. Her mom died when she was 11. Then she went to live with her grandfather, and they were poor. And so she, picked up odd jobs, and then she learned violin, and she played for tips in the subway station. And she was eventually discovered and great. Yeah. But she should have a lot of angst and trauma based on how she grew up. Mm-hmm. And you get glimmers of that, but not enough to like make it redeeming as her as a character.
Yeah.
Because she's so one-dimensional and immature.
Yeah. Because I mean, you can tell that she has emotional baggage, but I feel like throughout the story arc, she never really confronts it. That like maybe some of the reasons why she's like running away from things or like overly attaching herself to other things is like maybe a response to childhood trauma, but like there's no thought about it at all.
There's no inner reflection, which some books kind of lean too far into that, where you get like pages upon pages of no dialogue, just the characters reflecting on their own shit. And with this is the other extreme with Gwen.
Yeah.
And so she's like third chair, which is like
the back
C plus.
It's like you're decent.
You're good. We're gonna hide you in the middle kind of thing. Yeah. And she has had this long-standing crush on
Xander Thorne.
Oh.
Okay, so that's the other part that I don't love about this is I think it is so cringy. Just like he's like a rock star who plays.
He's a rock cellist.
Even talking about it kind of like gives me the yuck. But yeah, in a rock band that plays like classical covers of like rock songs, but with like electric instruments.
Yeah, if you've heard like the Vitamin D String Quartet, have you heard of them?
Lindsey Sterling too.
That family.
I don't love it. I'm gonna be real with you, and I feel so pretentious and like judgy and mean girl about it, but like it is not my. Like I'll take the Bridgerton, you know.
That's what. Yeah, but that's
like the reverse.
Well,
right?
No, it's about the same. Like that's so the music from Bridgerton. That's what the Pops would play.
Oh, okay.
That style.
I'm good with the Pops, but not
Xander Thorne.
No,
Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
No.
So Xander Thorne is a member of Thorns and Roses. Is the name of his band.
I have secondhand embarrassment right now. I
feel cheesy, but he is also a member of the Pops, and he's first chair for the cello section.
Yeah. And they're definitely milking that for all it's worth.
Yeah, it's a publicity stunt because the Pops is kind of like the lesser, doesn't draw in a lot of crowds. And I will say that if you have any kind of music background training, even if you just did band in school, you're going to enjoy some aspects of how she worked in like the music theory and the overlapping stuff. Like I thought that was kind of cool.
I have no experience with that, so I trust you with my life. I'm just nodding along.
Like, okay, so for reference, like I remember auditioning for like first chair for like high school band and stuff. And like it's a prestige thing.
Oh.
Or like, yeah. And so if you can read music too, like if you learn how to do that, some of the techniques that they talk about with Gwen, one of her like innate talents is transposing music in her head.
Yeah.
So the best way I can describe this is like, I don't even know if I can describe it. Can you read music?
Nope. That's why I'm so out of my element with this book.
It's so it's like it's like reading in one language.
Okay.
And then you have your native tongue that you know how to do, but instead of translating to your native tongue, you're skipping the native tongue and then going into another language that you know.
Ooh.
And she's doing that in her head.
Oh, damn. So she's like super genius.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Because, you know, instruments play in different keys and read like different clefs. So like,
this is, do they? Oh,
right. So if you have some of that, I feel like you might like this book more because you can recognize a lot of those things that are scattered throughout.
Okay.
Yep.
So again, I feel like I'm the missed audience here, but I was along for the ride. I like it. It felt genuine. Like it felt real from the layman's perspective.
It's just, it felt a little forced.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like, especially the music sex. So much of it. And I'm like, oh, they crescendo to completion.
Didn't love it.
Gross.
Did not. I will say the first, like, kind of smutty scene I was, like, intrigued by, but then it got to, like, weird emotional sex scenes, like, in public-esque parallels.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I did not love that. But yeah. Story starts off, Gwen, like any struggling musician, is getting paid to go play at a wedding in New Jersey.
And she's late.
Yep. She shows up. Her roommate and friend, Jacob, is a piano player. They got hired to play at this wedding or whatever. Everything seems to be going well until the wedding planner, who was from Forget Me Not, Emma, she comes up and she's like, where's your cello? And Gwen is like, what do you mean, where is my cello? And apparently, Emma, not really realizing that they're like two different instruments, inadvertently hired a violin player when she needed a cello player. And so chaos ensues until Gwen just out of the blue is like, I can play the cello.
Which is okay.
That's insane, right?
I guess I don't play string instruments, but the best way I could compare it to would be like, I play the flute. If someone handed me a piccolo, like, oh, I, in theory, know how to play the piccolo. My fingers know what to do, but it's a completely different tiny little size. And so, yeah, you can read the music. You know where your fingers are supposed to go. Is it going to sound good? Probably not.
Yeah. From the like wedding perspective, absolutely the fuck not. Like the entrance into my wedding is going to be played by someone.
No wedding planner would allow that to happen.
Insane. But yeah, so one of the groomsmen unhauls his giant ass, super expensive cello. And he's like, do you know how to play the cello? And Gwen's like, yeah, I know how to play the cello.
That was such a great Gwen impression.
And apparently it doesn't go that bad. Like,
so this is where it gets weird because she doesn't have the cello music, right? So she's transposing, like she's reading violin music and in her head transposing it into cello music.
And she's never really played a cello. That feels like too much brain power.
Yeah. I mean, people can do it. There are like genius musicians out there.
Yeah.
And I would imagine if it's like the same, like your fingers are hitting the same strings, right? It's just bigger. That's all. But like, I don't know.
That's frightening.
I did look up like local violin lessons because I was super intrigued after. String instruments are scary. Like there's a lot going on there, but the amount of detail that like they describe Gwen having and like just picking up this instrument it's cool stuff.
Yeah. I feel like the margin for error is too high with like string instruments because it's like,
yeah.
Did you do it right? Nope. Yeah, don't love that. But it apparently goes well. And then she realizes that the guy that dropped off the cello is Xander Thorne.
But everyone's calling him Alex.
Oh, weird. Who is this dual identity? But at the end, he comes over and he's basically like, you suck. But then he's also like, where did you learn to play the cello? Who do you belong to? He's like interrogating her almost.
Yeah. And you get his perspective later on. And it's kind of cute once you know what's going on. But she feels very defensive. Like, I played, didn't I? Like, did you see what I just did there? But she's also known Alex because he's been playing in the Pops and she's been in there for 3 or 4 years now. Yeah. And like, he's never noticed her before except until just now.
Yeah. And I feel like, doesn't she have like a parting shot at the end? She's like, yeah, I fucking like sit opposite you on the Pops. And he's like, what?
Yeah, kind of clueless dude is all this really is.
Yep. But obviously, as this happens, the next morning, Gwen goes to play at Carnegie Hall, like practice rooms. And she goes to the room that she has reserved and gasp, Xander is playing there.
Oh, no.
And apparently he's having some kind of like, he plays the same song over and over again because he's like having some kind of like issue with one of the notes.
So when you're perfecting, like when you're practicing a piece, right, there's always like, for me, if I'm sitting on the piano playing, there's always a section that like you can't get quite right because either the fingering is tricky or the notes are tricky, whatever.
Fingering
Shut up,
sorry. Okay, sorry.
But like I will sit at a piano and play like 2 measures of music for like an hour just to like practice and get it right. Because what you're trying to do at that point is like ingrain it in your brain. So you're not reading, you're just muscle memory. So that's probably what they're doing there.
I love that I have like a music expert to like explain this because I was just like straight vibes.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Music exposure was high school. So there we go.
I don't know. I feel like I've heard you like bust out some like pretty good stuff downstairs.
But Thorne, that
him, the he,
but also the name nonsense.
Yeah,
Alexander. We can't be more creative. Like,
I didn't realize until Jordan sent me Marco Polo and she's like, did you realize? And I was like, no, girl, I did not.
It's either clever or it's dumb, and I can't decide which way we're erring.
That is a good way to put it. I also don't know.
He's practicing in the room. Yeah. She's like, hey, man, I rented this room. Please get the fuck out. Which I appreciated Gwen's attitude when she's interacting with him because she's not like bold.
Hero worship.
Yeah, she can still be herself and be like, okay, you're kind of an asshole. Like, you're hot, but you're an asshole. So please leave my room.
Yeah.
And he eventually leaves and she goes to leave. And the secretary girl comes up to her and hands her like an envelope of cash. And Thorne had paid for her practice room, which weird.
Yeah. It was like kind of cute, but I also love the fact that she's like, give it to someone else. I don't want it. I was like, okay, girl, go in. Like, I get you.
Pass it along to the next
Prideful.
student. Yeah.
I don't even know what happens after that. Oh, yeah. So Gwen gets invited to play an informal audition for members of the like Pops, like
the board. Yeah.
Board of board of
like
people?
the board of directors, because it's a nonprofit, right? So they function on donations and stuff.
That makes sense. But informal audition for first chair for the violin, because the woman who was first chair, Ava, she is retiring at the end of the season, and they're like, hey, this is an opportunity. We're like super down on like money, and you're super young, and that'll
you're pretty.
Like, they're like, we're gonna cash in on this money cow right now. And so she does she goes later to do the audition, and she's like waiting outside the conductor, his office.
Nicely done.
Nice. The door is closed, and she hears Aiden, Alex. He's inside, and she hears like a tidbit, and it's like, waiting my whole life for this. And then he storms out pissed off, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And she's like, I just wrong place, wrong time, I guess. But we like don't really hear much more about it, except that he had quit the Pops, apparently. But she goes into this audition, she goes well, and they're basically like, we don't have any money, so we are relying on you to get us donations, please.
I appreciated that. So the first chair violin, Ava. Mm-hmm. So she's married to the conductor, director, Nathan.
Yeah.
And they're honest with her. They're like, yes, you're talented. You're really good. You're a prodigy. You're 22 years old. It's going to sell really well. Also, you're really pretty. It'll look good on our brochures, which was, I thought, that's not a bad thing. At least they're honest about it. They're not hiding it from her. They're not like putting it like shelved away, pretending like she's all that in a bag of chips.
Yep. I loved it. Oh, Nelly.
Wow.
I love it.
I'm old. And Gwen also appreciates it, but there's some like undertones of weirdness with Ava and Nathan. And so there's a little bit of backstory here because what's her name? Gwen?
Mabel. Oh,
yeah. Going into Mabel, though.
Yeah.
So Gwen learned how to play violin from this music store owner named Mabel, who's like grandmotherly, also a violinist.
Puerto Rican woman.
Yeah. She taught Gwen everything, like tutored her, like let her work in the store and everything. But Mabel and Ava have a very contentious relationship, and we don't know why. And so Mabel is not really happy that Gwen is working at the Pops, and she did not audition to go to Juilliard.
Yeah.
So,
and then when Gwen rushes home to tell Mabel that she got first chair, Mabel's like less than enthused about the whole thing, and that pisses Gwen off. And then that's like our first like inclination that there was some sort of event in the past that really blew things up between all of these people. Yeah. And then this is when Gwen starts to do like research on Xander, because, you know, they're like two parallel lives are like starting to intertwine or whatever. And she realizes that Xander Thorne, the lead for Thorns and Roses, the guy who's in the Pops, is actually Alexander Fitzgerald, who's Ava's son and was like a violin prodigy, played from 3 years old, has a bunch of YouTube videos, and then disappeared when he was like 18 or 19 or something. And she realizes they're the same person. Whoa! And that's probably why he was upset that she got first chair, because she is the first person that's not a Fitzgerald to have taken first chair, because it was kind of assumed that Alex would be the next person, but he disappeared. But then Xander is there.
and then, so they have a concert, like their final concert where Ava's the first chair. And that's the time that they announce Gwen as the incoming first chair. There's a big party afterwards. And this is where she meets some slimy people.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
What is his name?
Starts with Lorenz, I think.
Yeah.
So the crowd goes wild for Gwen. They're at the Plaza Hotel for the Pops after party. So she's meeting the entire board and all these donors. And this kind of slimy guy with a mustache walks up to her and he's like, hey, how you doing?
It's like, okay, not good now.
Like, here's my card. Come find me. And we come to find out that Nathan and Ava do not like this guy. And he is a music agent / producer. type dude. And so like Gwen kind of puts that in her back pocket, and she's like, well, I trust Nathan and Ava. I'm just going to shred that card and be good. And then she runs into Alex at this party. Right?
Xander.
Xander.
Nobody knows he's Alex.
And so he's also like still snarky at this party with her, like, you're just a pretty face kind of thing. And doesn't he invite her to like go out for coffee or something at this party?
I don't know. They have some kind of like, whatever, meet cute conversation. But then like Gwen gets asked to do another wedding, I think.
Yeah. So at the plaza party, he follows her into the bathroom.
Is that the scene?
There's 2 bathroom scenes.
Oh, there is the... Oh, yeah, because... Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Okay. So, this one I liked.
So Gwen, like, doesn't confront him, but he follows her, like, into the women's bathroom, and she's like, what the fuck is your problem with me, man? Like, you had your chance. Maybe if you were on time to rehearsal, like, you would have gotten first chair. Just let me have my moment. Like, I know I'm a shitty violinist, but, like, back the fuck off.
Yeah.
So he gets all up in her space, like heavy breathing, and they're about to make out.
Yeah.
And then they hear the toilet flush.
I love this part.
And then Gwen's friend May comes out of the bathroom stall, and she's like, I just thought I'd leave before you guys started fucking. So she washes her hands and leaves.
But honestly, so fair, because like, do you stay there or do you like, but do you ruin the moment?
It did ruin the moment, thankfully.
Yep.
And so Gwen like hightails it out. Hightails? What the? Where's my vocabulary? I quit.
I love it. Yep. She leaves. But then this is where we get this additional wedding thing, because Amma is like new to New York City or something, and she doesn't have like her extensive Rolodex of people or whatever. And so she's like, Gwen, could you please do me a favor and like come work at this like next wedding? And so she shows up with her cute little violin, and then Xander shows up as well to play the cello, and Emma's like, hey, I'm not involved in this nonsense. What do you mean? Because apparently Xander/Alex asked for Gwen to come and play, except he realizes like when she's all tense during the music, because he's obviously staring at her the whole time, which like kind of creepy, but cool. He has them switch instruments, right?
He switches the music.
Oh, yeah. So she has to transpose.
Yeah. So she's playing the cello music on her violin.
Okay. Because I was like, I didn't think he was going to play the violin, but that there it is. That makes sense. Yeah. And so they have this like weird, like kind of sexual energy staring like, at each other.
Yeah. And like she relaxes because she's not in her own head thinking about people watching her. She's like too busy thinking about like transposing the music.
Yeah. And he's like staring at her the whole time. And like it's like heavy staring.
And like they have this like building chemical like sexual energy like the entire time that they're playing. And it's like phenomenal. And so they finish. Everyone's happy. Like the wedding guests are like over the moon about it.
Yeah.
And Xander, Alex, whatever he wants to call himself, he's like, we have to play together again. Like, I don't care like what it is, but like you and I have to play together.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel like there's just so many individual events that like the timeline...
It's just a blur because there's no real significant plot sections.
Yeah. Because I don't really remember what happens after this.
Well, so she goes to get tacos one day.
Oh, it's the taco scene.
Tacos. We all like some tacos.
Yeah. So she goes to like talk with Ava in the morning about like how to be first chair or something. And then she's like, wow, that was stressful. I'm going to go get like tacos at this like low key whatever. And then obviously Xander shows up to also get tacos
because they're in like an Upper East Side near Central Park neighborhood, and it's the taco place to go to. And so of course she doesn't have any cash on her, and of course Xander shows up and he pays for her tacos. He pays for his tacos. They have this moment of like, well, I guess we could get along. And so he invites her to come play.
Yeah, to jam. I think it's her because it's super awkward because and she's like, do you want to jam or something? Yeah. Like super awkward.
And he takes her back to his apartment, and he's got his own like recording studio in his apartment.
Yep.
And so he gives her one of his electric cellos to play on, and it's going great, and she's jamming. And they forget about the tacos because what does Xander do?
Yeah, he gives her a song to like play, right?
Yeah.
And then he like, no, play it again. No, play it again. And then he like comes to sit behind her and he's like, no, play it again.
And he's like sitting like on the same chair behind her with his like legs on either side of her, and he's like guiding her through the song until his hands start to wander.
Drift.
And she's like all about it.
Yep.
And then his hands slide south.
Yep. And he basically makes it to second base. And then I wrote in my notes, Gwen, in a moment of post-nut clarity, assumes that he's trying to humiliate her. Because that's basically what it is. Like, everything's fine. And then she's like, wait a second. Why am I here? What is he doing? He's trying to humiliate me. And then she just like leaves.
Which was so idiotic because that is not a normal train of thought.
No.
She just had her first like
sexual encounter with someone she's obsessed with.
Yeah, because it's not her first time, but it's like her first time coming with someone else.
Yeah.
And so she's like all muddled over that. But her first thought is that this man is trying to humiliate her.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, I know she's 22, but that's idiotic.
Yeah. Because also it doesn't really make sense because she's like, oh, I bet he brings a bunch of girls back here to like play music with or whatever. But she was the one that offered.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah. And
but yeah. After that, though, Xander gets pulled on to play on SNL.
Yeah.
Which, like, okay, cool.
And he comes back to the Pops.
Yeah.
Because he had quit the Pops because he didn't get first chair. But now that after the taco incident happened, he's like, I guess I'm back. And so he's trying to make nice with her. What?
I don't love that tacos is like, it could be an innuendo if you're thinking about it, the taco incident.
Oh.
Yeah. It's okay. We're just gonna bloop, 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 bloop. I'm still in Tawdry Tuesday mode.
Yeah.
But he's back with the Pops. Xander and Gwen have awkward interactions for the next while.
He keeps rejecting him, and it's so, like, bitchy, honestly. Yeah. He's like, can we just get a cup of coffee? And she's like, no. Every single time.
Yeah.
It's really off-putting, her behavior in general. And so he's just fine. Like, all right, you can only take so much rejection. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, so he just decides to go full asshole, which rightfully so. I would have too.
Yep.
And so they have a concert, and he is called out because he's Xander Thorne to play like a solo piece.
Oh, yeah.
So he gets out and he gets on his cello and he plays the piece that she was playing in his studio when he got her
to completion.
Yep. And instead of ending on like finishing the song on the note that he's supposed to, he stopped just before the final note. So I don't know if like I felt this in my soul, and it was excruciating. So if you're ever listening to like, especially like a classical piece of music, your brain can predict what the next note should be. Because it's that feeling like the next note sounds right.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're ever listening to a song and you're like, oh, like it sounds like it should go here next. Yeah. It's like your brain is mentally filling in that next gap. That's what it felt like for the entire audience when he just did not play the last note that it should have.
Oof.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And like, it's very symbolic of Gwen rejecting him.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
Ooh. I wrote blue balls, basically.
That's the equivalent of this song. So, and he also called this song Not Another Love Song.
Oh. I like it because we are, in fact, not another heroine, but
yeah, fair.
I dig it.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good stopping point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because immediately after this, they have another party at the plaza, and Xander's drunk, and Gwen is like, you're drunk. And he's like, do you want to hang out with me? Like, we could go somewhere alone. And she's like, maybe next time. It's like, girl, don't drag him along.
But it was so... All right, readers.
From our shelf to yours.
We'll see you on the next page.
Hi, readers. Like what you've been hearing? Check out the Spice Archive at notanotherheroine.com to see all of our reviews and ratings. And if you'd like to support our growing library, find us on Patreon and get access to exclusive bonus content.
If you'd like to just listen, we post new episodes every Monday and Wednesday on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Thanks for listening.